Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're once again back in Warframe for another build, and this time we're having a look at Sevagoth Prime. I may be a bit late for this Warframe, but yeah, I just managed to get the whole set, so here we are today. I also spent some time trying some fashion options, and I stuck with this copper and oxidized copper, which I think does look quite nice. But back to the main topic, this Warframe is completely busted, and he just needs 2 abilities to pretty much kill anything in the game, and that is just insane. Anyways, that's enough introductions for now, so let's jump into the build. Starting from Sevagoth Abilities. His passive makes it so that on that you become Sevagoth's shadow and you're able to revive yourself if you kill enough enemies. Moving to the first ability, this one is called Reap. When you cast ability, you summon Sevagoth's shadow and you can either tap or hold the ability to make the shadow go either slow or fast. And this shadow will deal damage to all enemies in its path and will follow your cursor if you're aiming down sight. The shadow deals radiation damage, lasts for a certain duration, and applies a damage vulnerability buff to all enemies it touches for a certain duration. The second ability is called Sow. By casting this ability, you apply a seed to all enemies within range, and whenever the shadow that you summon by casting Reap touches those enemies that are affected by the seed, they will explode and deal damage to all enemies in a certain radius. Moving to the third ability, this one is called Gloom. You may already be familiar with this ability because it is quite a common subsume on other Warframes, and what it does is on cast you create this ring around you that will slowly expand, and all enemies inside the circle will be slowed, and you're also able to heal yourself when you attack enemies inside its area. And Sevagoth's fourth ability should be Exalted Shadow, which is pretty much your shadow that you can transform into, and has different abilities and playstyle, but for this build we don't really need that, so I went for Pillage. This way I can remove shields and armor from all enemies in a certain radius, and replenish my shields, which gives us our main source of survivability. So, those were the abilities, let's now move on to the Archon Shards. I'm using 2 Tau Forge Azure Archon Shards with shield capacity to increase my max shield, 1 Tau Forge Azure Archon Shard with energy max, 1 Tau Forge Ember Archon Shard with casting speed because we're gonna cast abilities quite a lot, and the last one is a Tau Forge Crimson Archon Shard with ability strength. And these are the mods I use for the build. Growing Power for more power strength, Prime Sure-Footed to avoid knockdowns, Adaptation to build resistance to different damage types, Prime Continuity for more duration, Stretch for more range, Transient Fortitude for a lot of ability strength at the cost of ability duration, Equilibrium to restore health from energy pickups and energy from health pickups, Umbral Intensify for even more strength, and then we are using 2 augments. Dark Propagation makes it so that whenever we kill enemies that are affected by Sow, its effects are spread in a 15-meter radius, and the other augment is Shadow Haze. This augment grants us 50% additional critical chance on enemies affected by Death Harvest. And you apply Death Harvest by casting your wand, so it is quite easy to trigger, and additionally whenever you do kill an enemy affected by this Death Harvest, Sevagoth will summon an additional shadow and you can have up to 3 of them. Now moving to Arcanes, I'm using Arcane Steadfast, that on ability cast has a 20% chance that our next 3 abilities will not cost any energy, and Molt Augmented to gain an additional 60% power strength after killing 250 enemies. Now I do have a build for the Shadow and also its clothes, so if you wanna test the Shadow and how it works and its like damage potential, you can absolutely go for it. It's quite fun. I just don't recommend using it in a very long mission because Shadow will just die quite easily and doesn't really have that much survivability unless you actually like invest all the way into it, which is also kind of boring. Now moving to the weapons, I went mostly for fashion because we are not really gonna use them other than our melee, which is probably the best thing to run with Sevagoth because yeah, it is just so easy to play as this Warframe because he will slow down enemies and also debuff them and make them take more damage, and melees with a lot of range help in killing massive amounts of enemies at the same time. And I'm running the Cinta as my primary because it does look quite nice, and I do like have a kind of a build on it. It's not finished, but yeah, it's definitely a weapon that you can use. The Epitaph Prime for obviously fashion because it does look just perfect on this Warframe. And this is the build I'm running with just a bunch of augur mods for that energy to shield conversion. And the melee I'm using is the Sancti Magister with the Slam build, which will be changed in the next update. So this is very temporary, and I will make an updated guide on Slam builds whenever the update releases. But yeah, anyway, this is pretty much what I'm running. These are the Incarnate Evolutions, and these are the mods. It's just your usual heavy Slam build, and I'm running melee exposure because since we're gonna cast abilities a lot, we gain 240% more corrosive damage, which is it is a lot of damage. So yeah, that is pretty much the build. Now for the focus tree, I'm running Madurai for the awesome 50% casting speed and the amazing 40% ability strength that you can just easily obtain by going into your operator or your drifter and perform a couple of void links, and that's it. You just gain these two massive buffs for 20 seconds. And I'll also be using my Panzer because this is my favorite pet, and I just use this guy for pretty much every kind of game mode or whatever I'm doing. This is the build for the pet, and this is the build for its claws. And that's pretty much the whole build, so let's now see it in action. Alright, I'm going to summon 20 correct heavy gunners, level 225, with steel path modifiers, and since my cat has already started attacking them, whenever I'm gonna use my one, they might already start dying, and they sure are, but yeah, that is pretty much all you have to do with this build. Alright, so we are using our 2 to apply those seed on enemies and our 1 to detonate all of them. You can of course armor ship them with your 4, in this case our pillage. You can slow down enemies and also get some life leech, which is always nice to have. And once again, that's the combo. Just cast your 2, cast your 1, and everything around you will die. Now, of course, there is a catch, and that is that if there's only one enemy, it will require multiple casts because we're dealing about 50 to like 60% of the enemy's HP every cast. So with 2 enemies or more, of course, you'll kill all of them, and that's pretty much how it works. And of course, if enemies are affected by viral or they are armor shaped, they will take more damage from that explosion, which means we can kill them even faster. And if you think that overguard will be a problem, it won't. It just won't. It doesn't matter if enemies have massive amounts of overguard, they'll just die. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, our full rotation will look like something like this. And everything is dead, and if you really want to, you can just use your weapons as well. I mean, the Sinta might be the weakest link, because it isn't really built yet, but it's still capable of dealing with these enemies eventually. Your Epita is quite nice at applying massive amounts of Cituses, which you can make use if you're using any of the condition overload mods. And then we have our Magister, which is also quite a good weapon. Even without armor shape, we are able to deal with these enemies, but of course we do have the armor shape, so we're just gonna use that and deal some very fun numbers, because enemies affected by our shadow once again grant us additional crit chance. And yes, that is, I'm pretty sure, additive crit chance, so we are hitting massive red crits, which yeah, it's always nice to do. And yeah, that is pretty much Sevagoth Prime. I don't really like this playstyle, but it is really powerful and you can kill anything in the game with just your abilities, which is funny, and this can go easily into level cap because of what we're using, which is pretty much just shield gating and slowing down all enemies around us to like almost 90%. And yeah, you pretty much trivialize anything in the game, and you can use this Warframe in any mission and he'll perform quite well. Anyways, I'll now leave you guys to the showcase where I test this build for 10 minutes in a steel path survival, so you can see how it performs in a more realistic scenario. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, and if you like my content, consider subscribing. I wish you a beautiful rest of the day, thanks for watching, and hold on, bye bye.
all cause now we know that we can take it. We face it all cause we go bigger, we go home. Dance like you made it and you found it all. This is paradise. Dance like you made it and you found it all. This is paradise. This is paradise. This is paradise. Whoa! Don't be afraid of the call, just a little bit more. Taking the heavenly glow, we've come to adore. No matter where we go, I know we're gonna make it. No matter where we go, I know we're not alone. We face it all cause now we know that we can take it. We face it all cause we go bigger, we go home. Dance like you made it and you found it all. This is paradise. Dance like you made it and you found it all. This is paradise. This is paradise. This is paradise. Stay a moment.